I don't know where it all started, but I love my husband Jayan very much. We're a great couple and John is a perfect husband. He's handsome, professional and has a great sense of humor. People respect him, even though he never puts in any effort. His age is now approaching 50, and I, his wife Trish, am noticeably behind him. Men say I'm attractive, but I try to ignore it. The worst of the lot are arrogant and vain. At 46, I'm 57 now, and I have brown eyes that match the color of my hair and a decent figure. I'm happy with my looks. I exercise and do yoga, but not as much as I should. I love food and drink, and I'm happy to put on a few extra pounds, which is fine for my age. I work as a retail manager and I'm really into reading, puzzles and games of all kinds. Our children, Jason and Vicky, are grown up but still live nearby and often have game nights with us and our extended family. Our sex life is still great. The only issue is that I never experience pleasure during sex. John is more bothered by this than I am. He's an amazing kisser, and I enjoy making love to him. I took John with me to our Christmas party. It's nice to dress up, and we always have fun. John had a great time. He felt comfortable in his new company and could talk intelligently about any subject. I left him at the bar to hang out and dance a bit. It started out with a group of girls, but we were joined by some young guys from work. I like the company, especially the new supply manager. I really enjoy working with Martin. When I met him, there was an instant spark between us. He is young, fit, charming, and for some reason, very interested in me. I went looking for John and finally found him sitting behind the bar. He didn't look happy and looked like he was about to leave. Sorry, babe. I got distracted talking to everyone. I was walking around the lounge when I noticed John nodding towards Martin. I turned around and saw that it was just John and Martin. We'd had a fun dance together, but that was it. I could see from the way you look at him that you like him. You like him a lot. I hadn't thought about it. I did think about it. I thought about it a lot. It felt good and I did like the attention, but why did I leave John out of it? We're friends, period. Even if he wanted more, it was never going to happen. I was surprised John didn't get more angry. He seemed to accept my explanation. We stayed at the party and when we got home, I tried to be much more attentive to him. I was very horny and almost jumped on Jayan. We had great sex. I don't understand that it was Martin who turned you on. I took a chance. He may have helped a little, but it was you, honey. When John didn't object, I continued. I'm flattered that a young guy finds you attractive. John finds me attractive, but there's nothing he can do about it, so I'm saving it all for you. After that, we talked a lot more about love, especially about our fantasies. We've increased the frequency and variety in our sex life and we're having a great time. We started making love more often, working with our hands and using toys. And when we're together, I buy new lingerie, knowing John loves stockings and heeled shoes. We go out to dinner or drinks, and I tease him mercilessly. I love my new sexual side. Our fantasies extend to others. Who would we most like to make love to? Naturally, hypothetically, as it turns out, mostly with I told Jayan over and over how much I loved him and how lucky I was to have a man who was willing to experiment and accommodate my wishes. We even started watching adult movies together, including some scenes of cheating. Martin flirted with me at work, and I loved it. He was constantly asking me out on dates, but I declined. I found myself wishing I could go, though. I sat Jayan down to talk. I told him, I love you more than anything and you are the most wonderful husband in the world. Thank you. I love you too. He asked me if I was interested. Is there something wrong? Everything's fine. I've been thinking about this a lot and I've decided that I want to figure it out before I get old. I wonder if it could be different with someone else. John was just at a loss. I genuinely thought we could both benefit and I just needed to explain things properly to him. Martin, he's asked me to go on a trip with him next weekend and I'd love to go. I hope I can discover something and share it with us. You know the secret of fun. I know you liked that hot wife video we watched and I thought we could explore that fantasy. That's just a fantasy, Trish. It could be a reality for us, babe. He's taken an interest in me and has been following me for months. He knows all about you and he's not a threat to our marriage. I'm flattered and I want to be honest with you. I will tell you everything that will happen and none of it will affect how much I love you. Have you two had sex before? No, we are professionals at work. Nothing has happened yet. I'd like to have some fun, but I always come home to you. It wasn't an easy decision, John. I love you, but I feel like I need to do this. I could see John's pain and confusion. He was bothered by my lack of pleasure. I know it's not unusual for women to not experience it, but I was curious if it was possible with someone else. John's legs didn't seem to be holding him up and he had his back against the wall. I didn't want to hurt him, but at least he wasn't mad. I hardly slept at all, and I suspect John didn't either. I kept asking myself if I was doing the right thing, and I was plagued. In the morning, John seemed more relaxed, which was a relief. Maybe he'd seen the benefits and accepted the situation. I knew it was a common fantasy, so many people talked about it. I hoped it would energize our sex life. I didn't want to prolong the conversation and decided to just cut to the chase. I decided to just get to the point. Wearing lingerie for another man was strange but exciting. The new set included a garter belt, bra and tiny thong that seemed a bit risque, even decadent. He's also very handsome and fit, which made me even more aroused. I felt a bit guilty in front of JN, but I was overwhelmed by the feeling of arousal, so I packed my weekend suitcase full of dresses, heels, and lingerie and said goodbye to John. I'll be back on Sunday. Be ready to take me back. I'll be in touch. I want you to be a part of this. JN didn't respond in any way, but I knew he was nervous and had mixed feelings. I wanted to stay in touch with him and make sure he was okay. When I saw his reaction to my outfit, I could tell he was delighted. I let him catch a glimpse of the top of my stockings, and I loved his reaction. He was clearly feeling the sexual tension. I had a great time with John. How did John react to our trip? Not very well, but not as badly as I thought he would. I'm almost disappointed that he didn't fight back harder. Have you made our intentions clear? Yes, very clearly, but without being rude. I described it as a trip and a date. He didn't resist. I didn't get a reply, so I'm not sure if he's okay. Maybe he's not as interested as he seemed. Guys like to be teased and tormented. I'll try to write, but only to make sure he's okay. I called, but there was no answer. I frowned, but luckily my phone rang. Have fun. I had dinner with Jason and Vicky, which made me worry. What exactly had he told the kids? I didn't think he would tell them anything, it would only embarrass him. I hoped he would be alone and think about me, but it was clear he would try to distract himself. I replied, Martin is acting like an impeccable gentleman. Gentlemen, it's so exciting to fulfill this fantasy. I was a little puzzled by his rather cryptic response. The answer was shorter than I had hoped, but he seemed fine with it, no threats or hurt emotions. Martin asked about his answers and seemed to enjoy it somewhat. I would have preferred it to be less, but it was more than I would have liked. Perhaps he is a true cuckold. Try sending him selfies with us. See what he says. I wasn't sure, but I did it and sent selfies with us at the restaurant, adding a caption. I appreciate everything we have and we can have even more by having a great time. Then replace the word time with something else. I had a wonderful date with my wife and sent him the message. It fit the hot wife theme and might have turned John on. I can't forget this place. It's where we had our anniversary dinner. You're having a great time. You certainly dressed up for it. I don't see your wedding ring. I was reminded of our anniversary at the same hotel. If tonight is anything like that, it's going to be a great night. Maybe we should have picked a different place. I didn't want John to feel like he'd been replaced in any way. I wanted to be respectful of your ring, babe. It'll be back on the owl on Sunday when I get back to you. Love you, actually. I did feel a little guilty, but I was sure I could make up for any mistakes by enjoying my time with Martin. We finished our meal and enjoyed our drinks. By the time we'd reached the 10, we'd had enough and turned down the opportunity for another drink and headed for the room. I quickly texted John, already on my way up. Hope it turns you on. I'll be your hot wife soon. Tell me. How are you feeling? We hadn't even entered the room before Martin kissed me passionately until my fingers cramped. You won't regret this, Trish. Perhaps we can make it a regular thing. If John is agreeable, I was thrilled to be desired by another man. I was excited by the novelty and what it would be like with Martin kissed and touched me all over, and it was like an electric shock. I told him to wait on the bed while I got ready. I went to the bathroom and unbuttoned my dress, examining myself in the mirror. I admired the expensive lingerie I had bought. I quickly checked my phone, but there was no response from John. This might be harder for him than I thought. I thought it would be more difficult for him than it was, but he didn't mind the plan. I texted again, John, are you here? You've been quiet all night. I love you, baby. We can make up when I get home. I found it hard to believe that was possible. I stared at the phone for a moment, trying to figure out how my husband felt. Surely it makes sense that part of his soul is regretting or doubting. Given the circumstances, I have to say that I'm going to dress exactly the same for you too. I sent selfies with the bathroom mirror showing off my underwear and stockings. Martin called out from the room and asked if I was trying to torture him by waiting. My cell phone beeped, yes it did, but I'll disappoint you. I don't need to. I really wanted to get through to him. I was so sure the picture would turn him on. I tried calling but there was no answer. Maybe he wasn't turned on this evening as I had hoped. I was about to send another text when I heard the texting alert again. Forget about that. You like puzzles. You like puzzles. Read the letters of the first words in my replies. Maybe. I looked at the first words in his text again. Have fun. Oh, forget about it. I called him again, but there was still no answer. I quickly changed and rushed out of the bathroom in a panic, trying to put on my heels, much to Martin's bewilderment. I have to go home now. Martin was shocked. At first, he tried to calm me down and get me to explain myself. I showed him all the text messages. Damn, he won't do anything stupid, will he? I don't want my wife to find out, so you're married? I was texting on the run. I'm on my way. I'm on my way home. We ran to Martin's car. He got behind the wheel, and I called and left a voicemail. Nothing happened. I'm on my way home. I texted him back and got an immediate response. He's already had enough of this. Thanks for the heads up. It will allow me to make some preparations. Please don't do anything rash. This is all a terrible mistake. Loving you was a terrible mistake. Then another text from him. Legally speaking, you left me no choice. I'm not going out. I'm choosing you over him. It's a waste. You wanted him and I don't want to tie you down. It's your body, your choice. You didn't want to miss the chance to enjoy it, did you? Did you even know he's married with 3 kids anyway? Don't be so hasty. I'm now on paid leave after being laid off before retirement and will be traveling a lot. I've just noticed another word in the text messages, chance, love, legal. When I arrived at the house, it was dark and quiet, with a sign in the front garden saying for sale. I loved the house, it was my pride and joy. Everything suddenly became very real, and I panicked when I entered the house. On the kitchen table were neatly folded divorce papers that John had already signed. I found the divorce papers that John had already signed, along with most of his clothes and personal belongings. I was shocked to realize that I was losing my best friend. We always talked, and our conversations were light and he always made me laugh. He was the love of my life, and now he's gone. I sent another text, we're not done. I love you. You and I were together for 2 weeks, but despite all my attempts to contact him, there was no reply. I was really upset. He withdrew half of our savings and took the things that were most precious to him. An envelope arrived at our address written in his hand. I opened it and was shocked to find it contained his wedding ring. This prompted another bout of tears the next day. I received a text message from John saying he'd arrived safely at the resort and that it was wonderful. I replied, saying I was sorry. Please come home. I decided to live out my fantasy this time, and Merlin turned out to be a wonderful host and lady. There was another picture this time of a gorgeous, athletic-looking Caribbean woman in a green and yellow bikini sitting on the edge of a chaise lounge. I couldn't help but notice John throwing the wording of my own. I got some text messages from Martin that night that really upset me. We have a lot of issues, and I didn't want to offend him, so I sent him a message back. I hope you've received it by now. How are you doing? I'm sorry, but I can't offer you any support or make things better. I read the text messages again and realize that the first thing I noticed was that the message was going to be about this. Hi, resolved, great dandy, goodbye. There was one last message. John had copied my text messages from my night out with Martin into an entire email thread with Martin's wife, my parents and our kids on the address list. Martin called me furious that his wife had kicked him out and I was going to divorce him. He blamed it on me and my texts, and I blamed him for relentlessly stalking me. My parents were equally furious and couldn't understand what I was thinking. Frankly, neither could I. All of this was nothing compared to my children's utter disappointment. They told me to never expect John to come back.